I bless you all. Let you all open.
Nithyanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvaditam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasyaadhilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshibhutam Bhavadhitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Nithyanandam, we welcome each and every one of you joining with us, sitting with us, watching Nithyananda TV, Kailasa's official TV channel. SWAMIJI, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagatguru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness, Bhagavan Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam, is the reviver of the Kailasa nation, the enlightened civilization, the greatest and only Hindu nation. Adepts of the science of reincarnation in Hinduism recognized the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, SWAMIJI, as the avatar of Paramashiva at a very tender age. Revered and worshipped now as living incarnation of superconsciousness by millions of people worldwide. The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism manifested the best contributions of Hinduism to the world, including the science of power manifestation, yoga, and temple-based universities. Kailasa Nation. Kailasa is a microcosmic, ancient, enlightened Hindu civilization which does not put importance on territory alone. Kailasa is revived by the present living incarnation of Paramashiva, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagatguru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam. Vivekananda visualized it. Yogananda yearned for it. Aurobindo accelerated it. Osho worked for it. Maharishi Mahesh Yogi had mandated it. And due to their sincere efforts and hard work for the last 200 years, and with all their blessings, Swamiji has manifested Kailasa. Kailasa's supreme aim is to serve the religious and spiritual needs of 2 billion Hindus and the whole of humanity. Therefore, Kailasa is a consortium of multiple micronations, educational institutions, including Hindu universities and schools, gurukuls, de facto spiritual embassies, temples, temple monastery complexes, nunneries, food banks, the Annamandirs, animal shelters, Goshala, libraries, the Jnanalaya, and organic agriculture, and more. Looking a little bit more into today's VAKYAARTHASADHAS, why is the revival of the Kailasa nation needed? We have a few facts presented here. In a recent study published in Depression and Anxiety, of more than 67,000 college students from more than 100 institutions, 1 in 5 students have had thoughts of suicide, with 9% of making an attempt and nearly 20% reporting self-injury. 1 in 4 students reported being diagnosed with a mental illness. Suicides among girls ages 15 to 19 doubled from 2007 to 2015, when it reached its highest point in 40 years, while the suicide rate for boys ages 15 to 19 grew by 30% from 2007 to 2015. Meanwhile, suicide is the second leading cause of death for young people between the age of 15 and 24. So here we have the statistics very evidently showing of how the leading cause of death amongst the youth around the world is due to suicide. So what are the factors which lead to suicide? Why are people at such a young age, when they have their whole life ahead of them, why are they choosing to commit suicide before they've even entered the real world, the real life. One of the main reasons is the modern education system. Modern education system is one of the places where education absolutely does not happen. So here we have an article actually, which is written by a 13-year-old, and he had posted it on an online forum. School has been known to educate people and help them get to a good college and then advance in their future. Your parents will most likely tell you to get good grades that will help you in the future to get a job. But that isn't the right way to proceed in life. School doesn't prepare you for real life, but actually makes you academically smart. These are things that you mostly and if a 13-year-old is able to have this understanding and this realization, then what does that say for the rest of us? What does that say for the rest of the world? Moving on to the next slide. Even though the curricula have developed, the essence has stayed the same. Children are still taught in a standardized and industrialized way. As with anything that comes from a centralized control, is highly inefficient, bureaucratic, and wasteful. So actually, this article is done by a teacher who works in the educational institution and is seeing the problems kids are facing in their day-to-day lives, how they are suffering due to the how they are suffering due to the problems which are being created by the modern education system. Unfortunately, though we pride and in words, in paper, uh, to the outside public, we continuously emphasize on the importance of education, how education is the leading factor towards development of any country. How without education, without growing the youth of our nation, that we will not have a bright future. But despite all this, even in the modern education system, schools do not get the proper funding they need, and they do not properly check their teachers and make sure that the teachers are safe people whose students can be around, not just for physical abuse but sexual abuse as well, and providing the clear and safe environment for kids to study. On multiple levels, we have many problems regarding the modern education system, and it is not fundamentally whether one school does it right, one school is vetting all the teachers and upgrading the syllabus. It is not just about how well it is done. It is about the whole education system itself is flawed. The way society is functioning itself is flawed in an overall way, and that is one of the things which we'll be looking into, how flawed the modern education system is, and what are the few things which happen in the Gurukul education system which prevented these kind of problems from happening in any education institution. The education system is too controlling over students. Schools prevent students from growing and learning at their own pace. as intended in nature, students are forced to change their motives to attaining good grades over learning at their own speed for their own benefit and personal fulfillment. The pressure from schools to keep up and follow the rigid schedule is loaded with an abundance of work, leaving students scurrying to get things done. Again, this actually takes me back to the article which was written by the 13-year-old. School is only focusing on making you academically smart. If you ask a teacher, why should I learn algebra? Why do I need to learn this? Why do I need to learn that? More than you will not, they will not give you a better answer than saying that this comes in your final exam. More than that, you will not get a better answer as to why I should be learning this. Why is this important for me? And the whys and basically the basic fundamental questions. No teacher has an answer to these fundamental questions. Unfortunately for them, they are more concerned about their salary, their pay. And one of the sad things is the teachers, the people who in teaching institutions, our people who are in this profession of teaching, they are not paid very well. The pay is less, and that naturally discourages people from getting into a teacher profession. And it's for this sake that we need to give more importance. The due importance is not given for the education system. And I'm not talking about the education system, the difference between the education system which is happening now and the education system which is happening a few thousand years back. Even in the present education system we have, that amount of due importance is not given to the education system. Kids are neglected. It's all about only how schools can make more and more money out of kids and out of their parents, rather than giving them the perfect teaching experience and preparing them for life. No school in the modern era prepares a child for life. And that is fundamentally where all schools are going wrong in terms of their educational process. They only prepare them to pass a test, but they do not prepare them to pass the test of life. So this is an article written by the Times of India. 3 things that modern schools can pick up from the Gurukul system. The first one is robust learning. Second one, holistic learning. Third, relationship between student and teacher. So these are the 3 things which, as given by this article, things which can be picked up by the modern education system from the ancient Gurukul system. Robust learning. Robust learning of the students can only take place when focus on given on practical knowledge, when focus is given on practical knowledge. But in our present day education, just believes in bookish knowledge and cramming, which is not sufficient. The Gurukul system focused on applied knowledge that prepared the students in all fields of life. Actually, fundamentally, the very method of examination was very different. Examination didn't happen where all the students would assemble, they would sit at their desks, they would be given pen and paper, and they would be made to all follow the same test and write the same, expected to solve the same answers. It was always given in a practical situation. In this, there's a beautiful story in Krishna's life where Sudama was given a practical test of his Gurukula, and though he had failed that test, then he continued to stay in the Gurukul even after Krishna and Balrama had graduated. Sudama initially had failed the test, and then he continued to be in the Gurukul. After that, when he passed only, he gave the Guru Dakshina to his master and he left. So the whole Gurukul system was completely based on an individual student. It was not generalized and it was not standardized. It was based on an individual student. Examination was conducted for an individual student, and the exam preparation was prepared in such way that it would suit the benefits and needs of that individual student. When you are working, see, forget all education and all of this. When we take the fundamental concept of Advaita, what does Swamiji says Advaita? Advaita is not just everyone is the same. Everyone is one. And when everyone is one, everyone is unique in their own way. When we take our hand in our legs, do you say that the hand and the leg are the same? No. But the hand and the leg have the same importance. They are not same in a way which the hand is unique for its purpose. The leg is unique for its own purpose. But can you live either without your leg or either without your hand? No, you need both of them to live. You need both of them to function. That is the same case with oneness. Oneness, everyone is the same. Everyone is in the space of oneness, but everyone is unique as well. And it is because of your uniqueness that makes you different, that makes you special. That is what brings the space of Brahmanyam Bahuputratam in you. As Swamiji says, being the favorite inheritor of the cosmos, having the ultimate mamakara about yourself, the ultimate inner image about yourself. That is what that is what the Gurukul system is all about, giving this ultimate higher mamakara about yourself. The one of the first few things which you learn in the Upanishads, which you learn in Hinduism, is Shrinvantu Vishwe Amritasya Putraha. So the Rishi is addressing the disciple as, oh, please listen, oh, sons of immortality. So that is the way you are even addressed in Hinduism. You are not addressed as sinners, or you're not addressed as someone who has to redeem themselves by doing certain things. You are addressed as someone who is the son of immortality, someone who is God themselves. They need to be reminded about the divinity. That is all. So you see the very fundamental gap between the Gurukul education system and the modern education system, where the modern education system was designed, the Gurukul education system was designed on the principles of Advaita, of everyone not only being same, but being unique in their own aspect. And it was because the Gurukul system was designed in such a way, Hinduism flourished so much, and it is the oldest living civilization for this very reason, because they had built their Gurukul system based on the principle of oneness, based on the concept that everyone may be same, everyone may be in the space of oneness, but they are all unique in their own aspect. And robust learning is a fundamental way where you do not generalize and standardize and put everyone on the same bench for the same examination. This reminds me of a story which actually Swamiji had shared a couple of days in satsang. Uh, there's an examination happening in the jungle. You have a fish, a monkey, a crocodile, elephant, and a giraffe. And the judge, the examiner says, to make this a fair examination, we'll all have the same examination. One of you should climb the tree. So in these students, among apart from the monkey, who else can climb the tree? No one else can climb the tree. But the fish is good at what it does. The fish, if you give an exam in swimming, it will swim and it will pass. Same with the crocodile. If you give a bird to fly, give a test in flying, it will pass that test. Everyone is designed to perform their own unique function in society, in the world, in humanity. And asking a fish to do the job of a monkey, or asking a bird to do the job of a fish, is pretty much the same thing which our modern education system is doing. And that is why the modern education system is a very backwards, very undeveloped education method. Moving on. Holistic learning. This present day education mainly focuses on a rank based system, which is driven by an animosity towards their peers. More fuel is added by the over ambitious parents who judge the knowledge of the students only by academic performance. The application of the Gurukul system instead can work on a value based system where focus can be given on the uniqueness of the child so that they can excel in that area of interest. This will also build a good character which is far away from fierce competition and increase stress levels that usually leads to depression. Actually, this is very much prominent in our ancient Gurukul system. If you take the Pandavas, for example, the Pandavas in their Gurukul system, they each of them had learned all the warfare. They had learned to use all the different types of weapons. But Arjuna excelled in archery. Bhima excelled at the mace. Nakula and Sahadeva, they excelled at horse riding and sword fighting. Yudhishthira excelled at with the spear. So even though they were taught all the martial arts, they were taught all the different ways to use the different types of weapons, they were given the freedom to specialize in their field. They were given the freedom to explore completely and achieve the best in their chosen respective fields. And even Rama was a natural archer. So if Rama was put in the modern education system due to some teacher or something, they might have forced him, to handle the spear, or they might have forced him to handle a mace, which something he would not have excelled in. It is because Rama was great at archery and he was pushed and he was encouraged and given the support of Vatavarna for him to practice and excel in his art of archery that he became one of the greatest archers even now. Even today, he is remembered as one of the greatest archers next to only Mahadeva himself and Arjuna. So the modern education system needs to stop standardizing and keeping everyone on the same bench, but allowing everyone to go into their own fields, their own respective environments, and allowing them to excel at what they want to excel in, rather than parents or rather than teachers and other education institutions forcing them to dump something on themselves. Moving on. The relationship between student and teacher. The need of present times is to ensure that teachers and students share a friendly relationship and respect. This is as when the children feel secure and have trust in their caregiver, that they are most likely to emulate the same. This was present in the Gurukul education system, which can be inculcated today through activities, training workshops to bond with the students. Another very important aspect is the one-on-one relationship. So when you become a teacher, more or less you are taking up the role of a parent of the student. You are a third parent to the student. Any teacher at any point of time when they become when they are when they are training the student, they become the parent for the student. They become the third parent for the student. And at that time, it is extremely important to know what your student is going through, where his difficulties, where are his strengths, and how is the best way he can be helped, he can be enriched to solve, to help him in his difficulties, to help him in his problems. Here we have a short video where Swamiji himself is speaking about the education system and how backwards the education system is, and why the education system needs to be reformed, needs to change, and why the Gurukul system needs to be brought back to life.
My Gurukul is 100% free. Food, stay, education, everything is free. Because Sadashiva says, Guru is supposed to beg and feed the disciples. I said, I may beg physically or in the internet, but I will beg and feed my disciples. My Gurukul is 100% free. Not only I am teaching them English, maths, science, I am teaching them true history. I am teaching them the real powers and possibilities they can manifest. I am teaching them life. Only thing, I am not doing the stupid things which you guys have designed for a generalized way. Understand? All generalization creates more blind spots. When there is a Google Earth available, Google Map is available, why will I make them memorize the capitals of all the countries and states? Macaulay's time it was not there, so you have to memorize. Capital of India is Delhi and capital of Tamil Nadu is Chennai. You have to memorize. Now there is a Google Earth and Google Map. Just Google it, that's all. They need to be taught Googling. I am only removing all those stupid blind spots become part of the education because of the generalization. Understand? All generalization is faulty generalization. All generalization is faulty generalization. Jealousy, comparison is the byproduct of the faulty generalization. It is utter stupidity to give marks to human beings. Utter stupidity to give marks to human beings. It is like I saw memes in the Facebook. There is a fish in a pot, and there is a monkey, there is an elephant, there's a zebra, there's a snake, there's a crocodile, there's a tiger. And the educationist says, to have a fair game, we will have the examination. Who claims this tree first? Please start. That is what I call faulty generalization. What will happen to the fish if he comes out of the water to climb the tree? All generalization is faulty generalization. Understand? What I am trying to convey, I will give you the essence. Media wants me to do the charity of what they think as best. I am doing the charity of what is best. If you think food is the best thing happened in your life, you can do just Annadan. If you think education is the best thing happened in your life, you share that with the world. That's your charity. If you think clothes are the best things happened to your life and you share the clothes, Vastradana, that's your charity. If you think enlightenment and spiritual powers are the best thing happened in your life, you share that with the world. That's all I am doing.
Beautifully, Swamiji had shared how faulty generalization, any generalization is faulty generalization. And that is exactly what our modern education system is doing by generalizing all the students, generalizing their way of studying, generalizing the subjects in which they take. You may argue saying even the modern education system, we give a diverse, variety of subjects. We give them, a science stream, a commerce stream, and so on. But even those streams which are offered are also generalized stream. With the modern evolution of society, and we are saying that modern society is pacing at a certain level, and even the consumeristic lifestyle which modern society is going towards is wrong. But even to keep up with that faulty lifestyle, that faulty way of living and consumeristic lifestyle, even to keep up with that, our modern education system isn't prepared for it. So even in the standards of modern society and how they are running things, even to that level, our education system is not ready, is not prepared, and is not equipping the kids to be successful in today's world. So how is Kailasa working on providing real education for humanity? Kailasa's Department of Health main two projects being offered by the Kailasa Department of Health. The two projects which have been taken up are the Department of School and Education and Literacy and the Department of Higher Education, the Nithyananda Gurukul, and Kailasa's Nithyananda Hindu University. Quoting Swamiji himself on the Nithyananda Gurukul, education means constantly breaking your impossibilities, making all the best possibilities manifest. At the Gurukul, apart from having the ability to live an extraordinary life with these powers, students are also trained to be able to handle any situation that life puts down in front of them. Every aspect of the student's life, from the food to the cognitions they hold about life, is aligned according to the Vedas and Agamas in order to make them into world leaders. Nithyananda Hindu University. Nithyananda Hindu University draws inspiration from the millennia-old Vedic tradition of ancient India, the oldest living stream of transformational science in the world today. The pragmatic Vedic civilization is credited with many significant firsts in the field of yoga, medicine, astronomy, mathematics, and navigation, among others. Reinterpreting Vedic wisdom in the light of modern life and needs, Nithyananda Hindu University creates the space for the powerful transformation of the individual and the community. Nithyananda Hindu University represents the revival of the most ancient knowledge transmission system. It is of the lineage of the oldest university as per known records that was first started in Kailasa by Paramashiva himself and then established in various sacred places such as Naimisharanya, Varanasi, Kanchipuram, Mathura, Avantika, and so on, and some of the Mokshapuris as well. Due to the multiple invasions and illegitimate excuse me, illegitimization of the Vedic education system, home countries, this knowledge transmission system was almost lost. An important understanding is that this was not an education system, but a direct download process of the cosmic truths from the source, and is hence a knowledge transmission system. The last living person who has knowledge of this system, Bhagavan Sri Nithyananda Paramashivam, is fortunately reviving this knowledge transmission system. The Nithyananda Hindu University was conceived with this objective by SWAMIJI in 2000 and legitimized by the establishing of the university in the US in 2007. Today, Nithyananda Hindu University is the largest Hindu university all over the world, with 5,992 courses in 550 countries with more than 20 million enrollments. So now we look into a lot of the details about the education system, about the modern education system, and about the Gurukula education system as well, and how there are many things which the Gurukula education system has, which they give, which the modern education system can pick up as well. Beautifully in the Times of India, in the article they have beautifully posted where modern education system is going wrong and how the Gurukula education system picking up a few things from them can help. And also we've also gone through how Swamiji himself is supporting and reviving the ancient Vedic education system for the sake of giving real education for our youngsters, real education for our children, for the future of humanity. Coming to what is VAKYAARTHASADHAS? VAKYAARTHASADHAS, as part of the revival of the Kailasa nation and Hinduism, Swamiji has introduced the VAKYAARTHASADHAS to all of us, with an important aspect which is unique only to Hinduism. The VAKYAARTHASADHAS is not just for us to have deeper truths into the powerful cognitions, but also help in building the foundation of the Kailasa nation. The VAKYAARTHASADHAS is a part of a four-step process, which is laid out in our Vedas and in our Agamas, which is needed to imbibe any powerful cognition and thought current. So what is the four-step process? The four-step process starts with Shravana, listening to the truth from the master. So when the Shravana happens, it is very extremely similar to how food is being consumed. When you consume food, you take the food, you intake it, it goes into your system, it goes into your mouth, and it gets chewed up, and it just sits in your stomach until the digestion process happens. If the digestion process does not happen, then it is just unwanted weight sitting in your stomach without any place to go. Excuse me. So any truth which you hear from the master, which comes to you from listening to the master, any powerful cognition, any thought current, anything, it is very similar to how the undigested food is sitting in your stomach, and until the digestion process happens, be it the food or be it these powerful cognitions, having the spiritual understanding, having all of them is pretty useless, and it will start becoming poisonous for you if you continue to have these spiritual truths, these powerful cognitions, these thought currents in you, but without doing the digestion process. Let's look at the digestion process of any powerful cognition or the spiritual truth. So the second step of the the four-step digestion process is the contemplation and internalization of the truth, doing the manana, contemplating with yourself, sitting and digging deeper and deeper and deeper, trying to understand the subtler meanings and understandings and sacred secrets of this truth. That is the manana. The third step is the VAKYAARTHASADHAS. So exactly what is VAKYAARTHASADHAS? VAKYAARTHASADHAS is where the kandana and mandana of your logic happen. Kandana, let me define the words kandana and mandana for you. Kandana means the binary logic, breaking of your existing binary logic. That is kandana. And mandana means expanding your binary logic into the multidimensional logic. So it is in the VAKYAARTHASADHAS where your logic changes from being a binary logic to a multidimensional logic, where the real cognition shift starts happening in you. The fourth step of the 4-step process is the Nididhyasana, living these great truths in your life. How much ever you listen, how much ever contemplation you may do, how much ever debate and discussion you might have, unless you live these principles in your life, you are not fulfilling the true purpose of why the Master gives and partakes all these great truths with you. Moving on. In today's VAKYAARTHASADHAS, we are going to be discussing on how education is a very important aspect of society and is being handled in the worst way possible, as we've seen in the previous facts, in the previous slides which were presented here. How can we make the Gurukul way of education as a mainstream lifestyle? So this is the topic of today's VAKYAARTHASADHAS. Before we enter into the VAKYAARTHASADHAS directly, I have a few devotees who are joining with us from different parts of the world, different parts of India, and along with myself, my name is Sri Nithyaananda Maharaj. We also have Sri Sundareswarananda Maharaj joining us from India, and we also have Murliaya joining us from Chennai. Thank you both today for coming today and being a part of the VAKYAARTHASADHAS. So let me go ahead and give a little introduction about myself. My name is Sri Nithyaananda, and I joined the Nithyananda Gurukul back in 2012. Prior to joining the Nithyananda Gurukul, I was born and raised in the United States. So a little bit about my childhood. Prior to meeting Swamiji, prior to me being involved in anything spiritual or anything, in related to Hinduism even, I was born and brought up in the United States, and I had my dad actually, who was someone who used to openly advocate for Hinduism. And growing up, seeing the way he stood up for Hinduism, sometimes embarrassing me in the process, which I used to regret at the time. But now I feel really, he has showed me how Hinduism is being destroyed. And it was all the more reason of why it clicked with me to join Gurukul and be a part of Swamiji's mission. And when I took the stance to when I took the decision to come here to Gurukul, it was things which happened in my childhood, the small things which didn't matter. Looking at the time, it didn't matter, but it was small things. The way my dad used to make us sit, he would never allow us to sit on a table and eat. He would always make us sit on the ground and eat. And even if it was sleeping, we after the initial few years we had beds, but then after that my dad he stopped. He told all of us we shouldn't sleep on the bed. It is our tradition to sleep on the ground. So we would take the matters, we would put on the ground, and we would sleep on the ground. At the time I really hated it for it, but it was because of that when I finally decided, when I came to the Gurukul, it prepared me so much into living this lifestyle, and it prepared me so much to living this life with Swamiji. And so that is a little bit about me. And so reviving Hinduism, it really, after Swamiji started speaking about reviving Hinduism, it actually really clicked. Even though my dad spoke about it for so long, I never had that inner the fire or the persistence myself to revive Hinduism. It is okay, Hinduism, it's being destroyed. Okay. It really never clicked with me. But it was only after Swamiji spoke about it, Swamiji gave it was only when he gave the understanding to me of why Hinduism needs to be revived. Only then it actually clicked with me, and I finally actually understood my father only then, why it is very important to protect Hinduism and why it is necessary for us to speak out how the VAKYAARTHASADHAS which we're having now, for the sake of enlightening more and more people in towards how Hinduism is being destroyed and why it is our responsibility to protect it. So this is a little bit about myself. Sundaresh Maharaj, you can go ahead and introduce yourself next for all of viewers. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Maharaj. Nithyanandam. Nithyanandam, everybody. My name is Nithya Sundareswarananda, and I'm a Balasan from the Nithyananda Gurukul. I've been in the Nithyananda Gurukul over the last 10 years now, and so even I hail from one of the Orthodox Hindu families, from the Shaiva Velalar families. And before I came to the Nithyananda Gurukul, I am actually born in Kanchipuram, brought up in Hyderabad, and then I had moved to Nithyananda Gurukul. And so life with Swamiji is completely different. So before I came to the Nithyananda Gurukul, yes, I was successful in various fields such as education, sports. Like I had everything that I needed at that point in time. But still something was there where I used to have my downs where I would get angry and frustrated about things and why I have to do stuff the way I'm doing. And that is when I came to the Inner Awakening for Kids program. At that time it was called as the Engineers. Right now what the programs we have is Paramashivoham. So I had attended that program, and that had given a big click as to what life really is. It's not just about living the regular style of what we're doing, but there is something much more to it. There's some meaning to it. So the moment I understood that, and I decided that, okay, let me come in and let me learn. So the moment I came in and joined the Nithyananda Gurukul, that was it. Everything was changed, and after that I've never left from the Gurukul. I never even went back for the holidays or things that were there in between, because life here is so powerful that you can experience and express the highest of your possibility. So unless and until you taste something like this, you would never even get to know what it is. So that's a brief introduction about myself. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Sundaresh Maharaj. Mulyaya, you please go ahead and give an introduction about yourself for all our viewers today. Please go ahead, Aya.
Thank you, Maharaj. This is Murali from Chennai, India. I have been with Swamiji from 2013. I came here to attend one program called Inner Awakening. It was a 21-day meditation program which Swamiji had used to conduct back throughout the year those days. I came here at a point of time when I felt like, now thinking back, I felt I was actually saturated. Like I already knew what I'm supposed to know. And it is always somebody else, something else that is at fault, and there was nothing was wrong with me. And I didn't even recognize that I'm still not as successful as I could be. And I always was blaming something else, and I also was maybe very blind to the fact that I did not make it any big in life, having the idea, skill set, and all that, my whole personality as such. Though I'm looking at, I had so many people in my life going great guns, making more money, being more successful, winning more awards, prizes everywhere in the place of work and all that. I looked at everything as just one instance of what life can be for some people. I never looked at the bigger picture. And through the Inner Awakening program is when I came to realize that there's a much bigger world, there's a much larger world, a lot more needs to be explored. And that can never happen if I stick with my, or rather the usual human logic. So Swamiji says, life before Guru may have been logical, but life after Guru is really magical. And there's no punchline, because I understood this very experientially. And it's a really wonderful experience to have been with Swamiji since then, because many clicks have happened, a lot of understandings have happened, and I began to recognize my blind spots. They may not be very significant, any particular thing may not be very significant to mention, but many blind spots are there, and many clicks have happened since then. Lot of physical miracles have also happened, and which I have shared in these sessions. And I will share again the question of the day warrants that. And I think today's topic is quite relevant to me, because I have come to understand that enriching others, teaching and training others is a really rewarding way of existence. Because as a teacher, it is not that you just tell somebody something and go away. It is also ultimately enriching your inner self also, which I never realized back then. Because I remember very well, once upon a time I told myself I will never be a teacher in my life, whatever I want to become, because I don't have the necessary patience to tell others what needs to be told. But somehow suddenly something clicked in me in my life, and I became a teacher, and I feel that it's really rewarding. And even my patience has deepened. After my Inner Awakening program, I think I should say that my short-temperedness has come down, and my compassion and tolerance towards others' faults have actually increased, intensified. And I feel that this is only going to improve from here on. And I'm not going to go to that initial tantrum throwing, short-tempered morally before. It's a really rewarding thing. And I feel more powerful being more patient like this. So thanks to Swamiji for accepting me. Because without his compassion, I'm not able to see where I would have been, because Swamiji is a part of my life so intensely that I'm not able to imagine what I would have been, how where I would be, what I would do without him. It is so much like that. So this is a very general statement. Let me make more specific statements and elaborate on what Swamiji has been for me in my life further down the line if the Sadhana session warrants that. Thank you for the mic time, Maharaj. Back to you.
Yes, sir, yeah, thank you so much. So coming back to the topic of today's VAKYAARTHASADHAS, education is a very important aspect of society and is being handled in the worst way possible. How can we make the Gurukul way of education as a mainstream lifestyle? So, as always, let's go around first and share our initial take of this question. How can you make the Gurukul way of education as a mainstream lifestyle? So, one of the best ways is to, Swamiji is already through the Nithyananda Gurukul and the Nithyananda Vidyalaya, which is the day school, has already initiated a lot of projects and have started, and it's being implemented also in many parts of the world. So one of the best ways is to naturally bring them to these programs, and something as big as changing the way of the education system is not something which can happen overnight. It is something which can only start in small steps. But we need to start taking these small steps. Whether you are building a wall, you're building a building, whatever you're doing, even if you're building a skill set, it happens by the few steps which you start taking today. And just because we may feel overwhelmed by this aspect, oh, it's the whole education system, the whole world is following it, how can we change something that big? Whether you are thinking of it in that context, or you're thinking of it in a context where, why should I do this? My life is already anyhow messed up and it's all going to get over. Why is it important for me to preserve the next generation? Either way, the thought current which you're holding is life negative and is wrong. It is only because we have experienced so much, we've experienced the traumas, and it's not just us. There's a beautiful example Swamiji gives. Just because you follow the rules of the road, that doesn't mean you're safe. It is important that everyone around you as well follows the rules of the road as well. Only then all of you will be safe while you're driving. So just because you may have had a proper education or may not have had a proper education, it doesn't really matter unless the people around you are also having the proper education system and are also in the same space as you are in. So changing the cognition which we all are having, be it the laziness, be it the reluctantness, or be it just because we are not having we do not have the conviction to start implementing the Gurukul lifestyle in whatever small ways we can. Start bringing them for day scholar Gurukuls, which are happening in many cities around the world. Doing the small things like this will eventually change, and it'll help us in bringing the Gurukul lifestyle on a much more bigger forum. So the best way to do this is start by doing our small enriching in our small places like around us, organizing weekend Gurukul classes, and giving them these powerful cognitions. Always start by giving them this few fundamental powerful cognitions, and naturally when the parents and the kids both themselves see how much change is happening in them, naturally it will be they who will want to come to Gurukul rather than we going out and trying and getting them to come here. So we need to give that understanding to everyone where they are the ones who need Gurukul rather than we going out and trying to bring everyone here. That is the only way it is possible, when everyone realizes the need of why the Gurukul system, why the Nithyananda Gurukul system and this education system, the ancient Gurukula system, is something which the modern education needs and is not something which we are trying to force upon it. When that realization, that cognition shift happens, only then that is the only way to make the education system into a mainstream lifestyle. So this is my initial take on this question. Murli Aya, you can go ahead and share your initial take on this question. Please go ahead, Aya.
Thank you, Maharaj. See, how can we make people understand the Gurukula system is necessary? As an initial take, I will actually very strongly suggest our viewers this. If I would like all the parents and all the prospective young students to very honestly, critically think for themselves. If they are opting for the present way of system, if they are opting for some career choice, if they are opting for some stream, some group in their 11th grade, because they have understood what it means to go in that line completely, do they really know what it entails? Or is it they are trying to be there because some of their friends or seniors or their cousin or somebody peer is pressing them to do this. See, if you take this group and do this course, then I can ensure that you get a good job here. Then I can ensure that you get a good career here. So is this promised by anybody from around you? Maybe your senior in the same school or college, or is it a cousin who has already excelled in that field, whose promise, or your greed for a lot of money. If I do this, if I take up this job, if I do this, go for this vocation, it promises a lot of money. There's a good amount of there's a good prospect of making making good money there. This greed for money, or the promise by the peers, or promise by senior, that is guiding you, or is it you really know what that vocation has for you in life? Are you really aware of what the career involves, and you feel that you will do that tirelessly? See, once upon a time, as I said in the introductory session, I said I will never be a teacher because I thought I don't have the patience to deal with so-called slow learners, so-called people who just students who are not even able to repeat what the teacher is saying. See, before coming to SWAMIJI, as I said, I used to consider myself to be very logical and all that. And so, repeating what the teacher was saying was simply, that is the easiest thing any student can do, is what I used to feel. And when some student is not able to do that, I used to feel very impatient. And I looked at and I was bursting, looking at the teacher. How come she's so patient? How come she's not slapping this fellow? I used to feel so angry like that within me. And yet I thought that when I visualized that teacher's face now, I thought she was being so patient, so kind, and she was waiting for the student to say something, to come out with something. That patience I did not have back then. So, do you really know what it is? So at that time, I did not know what teaching entailed. I did not know what enriching others entailed. So like that, do you really know what it is to be in this field? Do you know what it will be? Are you able to even think through, and are you able to see yourself doing well? Or is it the greed for money, the greed of earning really well, filling your coffers really well, that is driving you? If you think through this very critically and honestly, I think you have made a good start, and you will understand how the present system is not all that rosy as it is made out to be, and you need to look for a change. You need to look for something different. So this is my initial take, and let me explain how Gurukul is the answer for this in a further instance. Thank you, Maharaj.
Yes, thank you very much, Aya. So I would like to actually take my I would like to share what is my understanding on this particular issue, as both Murliya and Mangala Maharaj both had shared about how the current education system needs to be revived by us taking the responsibility in individual places, like logging into the various different products or opportunities that Swamiji has provided to us, like how Mangala Maharaj has shared, such as the Gurukul, the e-Gurukul, or the weekend classes. That is one side. Another side, like how Murliya shared about how the greed and fear, the money alone should not be a component of, or it should not be a dominating component of the teaching, because the moment that comes in, the entire education system is completely out of the whole what it is supposed to do. So what I would like to share here at this point in time is a little bit related to what Mangala Maharaj was sharing, like how so even like at this point in time, when we see that the huge investments are coming into building universities or any of these things. So I would like to share a personal opinion on this, where I had actually met with some big organizations that were responsible and that kind of do this charity and welfare associations for a certain set of community of people. So even though we reached out to them, and even though we had actually manifested the powers and showed them the possibility, and they were also enamored by the whole thing, and wow, what can be done. But at the end of the whole thing, even though they have witnessed it, even though they are able to see what amount of possibility is possible by an individual. Finally, they came back to the ideology that why don't you set up a university? Why don't you set up a school? We can have a CBSE education system. So something what I feel at this point in time is that we are brainwashed that we only need to, or a right kind of an education system is only a Macaulay kind of an education system where only if you learn the maths, physics, chemistry, for example. I'm not telling that is wrong, but what I'm trying to share is that only that is the base of our life. So I feel the very fundamental idea with which we are functioning or with which we are forced to function is really terrible. So, and how Mangala Maharaj was sharing, even in his own life, how his father had actually taught him like the basic things, and at that point in time, even though he felt it forced, but that actually framed the basis of his life. So that is something that I would like to share here, that the first step that each and every one of us can take, as we know, kids do not learn. Kids see and imbibe. They do not learn what you teach. They only follow. So naturally, as parents, as elders, when you start doing something, when you are able to live in a particular way, when you're able to speak in a certain way, when you live, naturally kids start imbibing that and relating with it. I'm pretty sure many of the elders, especially the Indians and the NRIs, just maybe can have it as a generation ago or 2 generations before your grandfather's time, you would have seen how much Hinduism was a part of our lifestyle. Whether it's a Brahmin community, whether it's the Mudaliar community, whether it's any kind of community that exists, we were so intertwined with the Hinduism and the Hindu lifestyle itself. But unfortunately now, there is no trace of even that Hindu education in us. So what I would like to share here at this point in time is that it's important for every one of us to start living whatever little basics that we already know. Especially when Swamiji is sharing so many different things, it can start off by each and every one of us in our own life. When we start living the little things that Swamiji is sharing and reviving, whether it is the morning waking up and doing the yoga, or taking bath in cold water, or doing the puja, if we start doing these things from wherever we are, one step at a time, that itself is a revival to the Hindu system, to the Hindu Gurukul system. So it is not waiting for some opportunity like, okay, let everything settle down, let everything become fine, let everything be established, and then I will think about it. No, that doesn't work that way. I think it's important that every one of us have to start taking the responsibility from wherever we are, and that is how we'll be able to make the change in our life. So this was something that I wanted to share.
Yes, thank you so much, Nithyaananda Maharaj. So Murali, coming back to your point which you had brought up, that the education system is mainly being driven because of the factors of money, because people are the greed for money is one of the driving factors for education system, be it the teachers who are taking the class, or be it the educational institutions who are providing the infrastructure for education. So actually something that Swamiji had shared in previous satsang regarding the way the varnashrama dharma was defined and the way society was formed back in those days in the ancient Vedic tradition. The whole education system was run based on dana. The state had provided for the education system. And actually this brings me back the yesterday's discussion about the food and drug industry. In that industry, Swamiji had shared that it is because we have the because the medicine, the doctors were paid only when the patients were healthy, and the whole village, only if the whole village was healthy, only then the doctor would get their share of the profit, rather than versus the modern education system, the modern pharmaceutical industry and the healthcare which we have now, that is mainly being faced because based upon how much disease you have. The disease is the source of the income. As sick as you get, you are being charged for the medicine and you are being charged for the healthcare, rather than paying money instead of when you are healthy. So it's the same thing in the education system. If the state should be providing education system and making sure that education is happening because it is for their country to run their government. They need the educated citizens. They need people to be living their best, not for the sake of education system. They should be paying for education system, but rather than we should be providing that education system for everyone. So that should be the state in which the education system used to be designed, where it was provided by the kings and the administration body of those days, who would provide the education system and facilitate everything which was needed for the purpose of education at the time. So yeah, what is your take? How do you think it is the best way in which we can start changing, at least in small different ways, on how we can change the education system, bring it back to the original education system which was placed in so many thousands of years ago?
So one more point which I will still stick on in the way of taking the initial take is understand the purpose for which we actually have this education system. The Meccan education system, as Swamiji puts it, was actually devised with the intention of actually creating more clerks, more assistants for the way the British ran. The way the British governed us. The Gurukul education system is actually devised for enlightenment. See, this idea of you don't need to actually reproduce anything for any examination. The Gurukul education system is not devised to reproduce anything, to repeat anything as a way of answering any examination question. It is all aimed at enlightenment. So this is a very important thing we need to understand before we start talking about it. So when you understand the purpose for which that system is designed, when you understand why it is the way it is, then you'll realize where we are heading, what we are ultimately giving to the children. So this, I think, is a very prominent point that we should consider when we compare the two. So let me elaborate in another instance.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, I just want to could you share in the other few days back you had shared in your school how a teacher was sharing about how they not teacher, a parent was sharing about how they were unable to they weren't happy with the education system, but they were forced to keep their child in that education system for the sake of, because of so many external factors. Could you explain a little bit about that? Yeah.
Can you repeat the question, Maharaj? I'm not able to recall what you're trying to tell me. Can you repeat your question?
No, yes, yeah. So I was just asking. Previously, in the previous VAKYAARTHASADHAS, you were sharing about the education system and about how a parent had told you that it doesn't matter whether my student had achieved the marks or not. I just want him to get exposure and to learn. Could you just elaborate more on that line? Yeah?
Yes. Okay. Actually, one parent was telling us, we had the parent-teacher meeting, and all the teachers were complaining against this kid, and he was not very doing well. And I know which student they were talking about, because I'm also handling that kid, and I know that he was not very participative. He was not very mixing with all kids. He used to be very reticent. And this parent, she came and told us that I know my child is not doing well. I know he's not doing he's not very academically brilliant. I'm not giving him here. I'm not putting him here because I want him to be a part of the competition. I'm putting here because I want him to get exposed to more people. I want him to get exposed to more things, get deeper understandings of education, deeper dimensions of education. Let him live his life. Let him decide what he wants to do. Let me see where his passion goes. So that was what the parent said, and we were all we didn't know what to say. See, though I am talking about Gurukul education system here, in that forum, in that space, I did not know how to react, because there I am not expected to talk about Gurukul. So there I'm expected to bat only for what I'm working there, because, and the parent was very clear that I'm not unhappy with my child at all. So what I'm saying, why I think the Maharaj actually brought up a very, reminded me of a very interesting thing, because I feel that all children need to be given that forum, that space to explore themselves, to explore where their passion lay. So that's a very big thing. But and this many parents don't do. They just actually compare their own kids with all the peers. They compare every child with the fellow student. See how that fellow is being so good in maths. He's also getting the same teacher as you know. See how he's great in some subject, science. He's doing all the experiments so wonderfully. Why you are so fumbling like this? The comparison always happens, and that is what I think is pushing people to depression, pushing the student community to depression, suicidal tendencies, and all that. When the comparison is not there, when the pressure to learn within is not there, I think the flowering will happen automatically. The NIO system actually is a good change. It's a welcome change from the regular school system otherwise, because it forces the students to score a minimum pass mark in all the academic subjects in the same academic year instance. But the NIOS, I think, gives a larger time frame to achieve the same result. So that actually is a welcome change. But overall, the Gurukul system is much better, because it doesn't depend on, it doesn't give you any carved choice. Like Swamiji says, choice is not freedom. Freedom is something that is completely different, and it's a much deeper understanding. So see, even the modern education system, though it claims that it has got a lot of choices, we don't actually define what we like and what we don't like based on the choice that is given for us, but we are just free. We are free to do whatever we want to do. See, every student will have some suddenly I will like only one. See, physics is a very, I'll give you an example from based on some academic subjects today. We know physics. Now within physics we have this acoustics that is specializing in sound. Within we have one light, we have one electricity and magnetism. Same in organic chemistry, we have organic chemistry, inorganic chemistry, and physical chemistry. In maths, we have geometry, trigonometry, algebra, and all that. So within one field itself, we have many choices. But I may like just sounds. I may just like acoustics and geometry. Now, what sort of a combination is that? Now, you don't have any subject to match my liking, if that is my liking. See, well, now when I'm saying that I'm a language trainer, many people come and ask me, why didn't you take BA English? Why didn't you take a MA English? Now I'm telling them, like, if I do MA English or BA English, then I will have to study literature. I'm not interested in literature. I'm not interested in what yesteryear generation poets or writers have written. I want to create my writing. So I'm more interested in my communication style. I'm not interested in what other people have written as literature. So this is my understanding of what I like best. I like language, but not literature. I like maths, but not geometry. So what is the career choice that the modern education system has like this for some combination of choice in every so-called specialization of study? That thing is not there. That niche is not there. That is where I think Gurukul comes into play, because a Gurukul, actually, the Guru, the person who sits as the Guru, is able to understand what exactly your line of strength is, and he grooms you, he trains you in that field, he lets you specialize in that field, and you can be in that field. That way of thinking is not there in the present education system. This one child was very fortunate to get a parent who says, I'm just letting him be. I'm not expecting any marks. I'm not expecting any performance from him. I just want to expose him to all sorts of things. So this forum, if you give the child, I think it's a good thing that can happen to any child, best thing that can happen to any child. And this can happen only if the greed for more money or the peer pressure doesn't happen. You make the child learn just for the love of learning that. So learning something just for the love of learning it is the best thing. I make this point in all my parent-teacher meeting. Learn because you love to learn. Don't pick up your book only to pass some exam. That will never do in your life. I tell all my students and my students' parents this, and many parents seem to acknowledge this one point of mine when I say this. So this is what I want to recall, and I will elaborate later. Thank you.
Yes, yeah. Thank you so much. Actually, one of the best ways which when we are enriching someone to get them or get their kids to be a part of either the Nithyananda Gurukul or the Nithyananda Vidyalaya, then one of the best ways is why the Gurukul system? Why should we turn towards Hinduism, towards the be it the education system or be it the food and drug, be it the lifestyle of the food and medicine? One of the best ways to give them that correct orientation into Hinduism, give them correct orientation of how, give them correct orientation of why Hinduism we do what we do. Swamiji has beautifully created the Paramashivam program just for this purpose, for giving the correct orientation of Hinduism by practicing authentic Hindus for the sake of enriching Hindus to be authentic and practicing Hindus. So to learn more about the Paramashivam program, you visit the URL nithyananda.paramashivam.org. Watch a small video about the Paramashivam program now. Please stay tuned.
The time is right. The world is ready. You are going to experience literally Paramashiva. Most powerful, intangible but definitive, intense processes. This is the most powerful spiritual nuclear explosion that strong. The time is right. The world is ready. You are going to experience literally Paramashiva. Most powerful, intangible but definitive, intense processes. This is the most powerful spiritual nuclear explosion that strong force of Kailasa landing on planet Earth directly. One thing I can be sure, you will not exist end of the program. I can guarantee.
Yes, we're back. So we've almost come to the end of today's VAKYAARTHASADHAS for today. So before we conclude and end today's VAKYAARTHASADHAS, any final words, your final takeaway from today's VAKYAARTHASADHAS? We have seen the different facts about how the education system has their effect on teenagers and the youth of today's society. We have seen the Gurukul education system as well, things which can be implemented from the Gurukul education system, and how Swamiji himself is contributing towards the revival of the Gurukul education system. So what is your final takeaway? What is the final essence which you're taking away from today's VAKYAARTHASADHAS? Please go ahead and share.
See, we have to understand what Gurukul system means. What exactly this will entail. You have to get into the depth of it and then decide whether this is really worth batting for or not. Many people actually are not for this because they don't know what it is, and they don't know. So I'll ask our viewers, I'll request our viewers to actually go into the depths of understanding what Gurukul education system means, how exactly it helps the little kids flower, what it will mean for them in their life as compared to what is happening today in their life. There's a very vast difference. There's a whole world of difference. It cannot be explained in just this one small Vakyar session. This 1 hour session is simply not enough to understand and to appreciate its depth. So if we understand in depth what it means, then our way of looking at what is education system, what is education itself will be different, and then we'll make a more informed, more intelligent decision. Then is what I will tell our viewers. This is our final word for today. We can elaborate. Actually, I can elaborate a good deal more because I'm an educator myself. I can elaborate a lot more, but this is what the time permits today. Thank you.
Why don't you actually go ahead and share, because from your background, as you yourself have shared, this topic is very close to your heart, and being an educational professional, this is something which you can actually take part in your everyday lifestyle as a part of your everyday profession. Every time when you go to take a class, there is something from today's Vakyaasathas, and every Vakyaasathas actually which we do regarding the education system. So find in like taking away from be it today's Vakyaasathas or previous Vakyaasathas which we have done about the education system, what is something which you take from these Vakyaasathas and you implement in your day-to-day classes?
See, I understand that children learn in different ways. I begin to understand that children learn in different ways, and this way includes even the pace of learning. So I become more patient now, more tolerant now, and also I empathize with their mistakes. I understand where the mistake comes from, what actually makes them make that mistake. I understand that, so I go deep there and just I correct them. Not that I'm still not able to do it as well as actual Gurukul teacher does maybe, but I do it at my level. I do whatever I can. I'm more empathetic than ever I was ever once upon a time, I can say. And I actually go. I become their personal mentor. When you actually believe or not, when during the parent teacher meeting, it is a once upon a time it was the teacher who used to complain about the student to the parent, but these days parents are coming and complaining to the teachers that this is what has happening at home. So what should I do? So then I'll tell the parents certain things, and only some parents, unfortunately, only some parents recognize the need to create some ambience for the students at home for certain ways of studies to happen. I used to suggest that see, when we studied, we did not have these aids, but today you have this CDs, you have these animation things, or you have a lot of you have lessons themselves coming out in the form of comics or in the form of cartoons or animations in CDs. So buy them all that, make them learn like that. So I suggest different ways by which they can make the students learn. And I also suggest some methods about how we can improve attention span, like show them some picture, so some very large, very complicated picture, and then take it away from them and ask them to recall what they had, just to make them that improve their picture memory, their attention span, and all that. Some little methods I used to suggest, whatever I know. Unfortunately, not many parents actually are open to all these things. They just demand, they just expect that the children should sit in a corner and study. They should just, they don't want to apply their mind, they don't want to put their mind, and uh, they don't have the discipline to study, is what many parents complain. So, their very way of looking at the child needs to actually deepen, improve, broaden, is what I will say. So, and I think I am doing it as a teacher, whatever I can from my side. And maybe if I observe a Gurukul at close quarters, maybe I'll get more ideas about how I can be a better teacher. That much I can back for Gurukul. So, as of now, whatever I can do from my side, after coming to Swamiji, the way Swamiji molds us as a guru, even as an adult, I actually try to implement something on a smaller scale when I go to I deal with my kids, my students. So this is what my take is, Maharaj. I think I have answered the question that you have put.
Yes, yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for your takeaway. Sundaresh Maharaj, so we've almost come to the end of today's Vakyasatas. Is there anything, a final takeaway which you would like to share before we conclude for today? Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. As both of you, Murli Aya and Mangala Maharaj, both of you were sharing the various different aspects, and from the personal experience of how Murli Aya was sharing in his own life experience, and how a real teacher has a very rewarding experience, being a real teacher, where you actually contribute, because being a teacher is one of the most life positive experiences and contribution to the entire world itself. And as Swamiji shared in the satsang, as we just saw the short clipping of the satsang some time ago, in that satsang, Swamiji shared that education has to be provided for free, and the Nithyananda Gurukul and everything that Swamiji is providing to us, whether it's the Nithyananda University, the Nithyananda Gurukul, everything is a free. It's all freely given to every one of us, and all that we need to do is only to reach this out to as many people as possible. So if each and every one of us are just taking the responsibility to reach this out to our own immediate family, our own neighbors, our own friends and family, even if we just do that part of it, we'll be able to reach out to a lot of people, and the real Vedic tradition, the real Gurukulam based education system will start getting revived. And just one other thing that I would like to share is that it starts from every one of us. It doesn't matter whether you're 5-year-old or you're 50-year-old, it doesn't matter. What actually matters is that, are you learning? If yes, then you are a student. Then decide to start implementing all of these great truths that Swamiji is sharing in the satsang. Every single day Swamiji is coming, every single day Swamiji is sharing the great truths in satsang. Every day we are listening to the satsang. If we start implementing those truths in our life, day-to-day life, then we are directly contributing to that education system. So a reformation or revolution doesn't happen in a big way, but it happens with every one of us. So if we start living these truths, naturally our kids, our next generation, everyone is going to start following it. So that is one thing that I would like to add to the discussion that we are all just been having all this while. So that's it, Maharaj. Thank you.
See,
Yes.
I've read the
Thank you so much,
statement that
Sundaresh.
teaching is the noblest of all professions. That time I said yes, only out of from the moral context. But now I actually am able to experience it, and I feel really rewarding. And as Sundaresh Maharaj was saying, like it's a very rewarding experience, and I too feel that I'm learning every day. And I am able to experientially say that only a good learner can be a good teacher. So I am learning whatever little I can, and it's very rewarding. It's very pleasant, and very sweet, nice thing to happen. So, and implementing whatever the Gurukul, so whatever Gurukul can have for in my own in my profession, in my own little level. So thank you, Swamiji, for this.
Yes, I am. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming today, being a part of the Vakyasatas. Thank you. And thanks, Sundaresh Maharaj, as well, both of you for coming today, sharing your opinions and taking a stance. As Swamiji had used to share when he was speaking about the voting topics, having Vakyasatas is not just a benefit for us, for the people who are watching the Vakyasatas, for our transformation in cognition, for us to evolve our powerful cognitions, or the powerful cognitions of the people who are viewing as well. But when we share our stance, why we take the decisions and the reasons for why we have taken such decisions, what the decisions are and why we take them, it is not just for us to have clarity about it, but it's for the sake of posterity as well. When the future looks back, when they go through all this, when they see that, okay, so for so reason they have taken the stance, it is a benefit for them as well. So having this vakyasas every day is directly process in building the Kailasa nation, building not just the Kailasa nation, which is Swamiji is creating now, but the future of the nation as well. And for posterity to take better educated decisions, and for them to continue to grow this nation which Swamiji is building right now. So thank you both for coming today and being a part of the Vakyasatas. It is time now to prepare ourselves to welcome Swamiji, receive him for the Nitya Satsang. Request all the viewers to prepare yourself, sit straight, with your head, neck, and spine in a straight line. Close your eyes and bring your awareness into your Ananda Gandha. Visualize Swamiji sitting there in your Ananda Gandha as Paramashiva with the 25 heads and 50 hands. Now, allowing the Mahavakya mantra to vibrate throughout your entire body, start chanting Om Nithyaananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyaananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyaananda Paramashivoham.
I bless you all. Let you all open all your three eyes and manifest the powers of Mahasadashiva.
Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham. Om Nithyananda Paramashivoham.